So I had this aha moment today, another kind of like turning lemons into lemonade kind of experience, which is encouraging to me because sometimes, experiences growing up or with parents just seem kind of a bummer, and then you realize, oh, now I see how that works and how that benefited me in the long run. So what came to me was, lately I've been realizing that, kind of, I guess, willing to face how bad certain things were growing up, instead of minimizing it or not really seeing it for what it was or not really wanting to look at how painful something was. And I've been able to kind of just get realistic about it and go, wow, that was pretty bad. So there's certain aspects we all have, right, about our growing up being not so great in certain phases. And so anyway, I felt really neglected. My parents really didn't know how to love, at least in the way that I needed to have it. I'm a touchy-feely person, and touch is my number one love language, and that just wasn't happening. I barely got hugs, and I was just so deprived of that. They're just not touchy-feely people. And so, I didn't know any different. And it wasn't until adulthood that I looked back and thought, God, I was just so starving for that touch, and then also verbally is really important to me too, to hear it. And I think as children growing up, we need to hear compliments and uplifting, encouraging words of, that build us up and that's positive. And, for our parents to be kind of our fan club, right? Just didn't really happen. I remember noting, one time my mom was saying something about me on the phone where she was complimenting me, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she's giving me a compliment right now. This is like making history. Anyway, what the full circle thing is, and what I'm trying to get to, is that for a living, I teach people how to love. And, I teach relationship skills and communication skills, conscious practices around loving and the art of love, including Tantra and sacred sexuality. It comes in many forms. And basically it's, teaching people different ways to have deeper connection with their partners, ways that foster intimacy. As an intimacy coach, that's what I do. And it just was kind of this aha of, oh, no wonder, that I'm in this field, because it was completely lacking in my growing up years. And so, what I have witnessed is that often when there's deprivation or a total lack of something in a family, a lot of times it can go either way, where the child ends up being that same way or the exact opposite of that. And it seems like in my case, there was a lot lacking, and the effect that it had on me was to get really good at that. There was a lot missing, and it just put this drive in me, I notice, because I have had this drivenness all my life to overcome, to succeed, to, if I see a weakness, I get on it and I work on it until I feel like I'm good at it. And I'm certainly not going to let anything hold me back or get in my way or mess me up if I can help it, because I learn about it and I get help and I get support or whatever, and educate myself. Well, that was not the case with my dad, especially. He went the opposite direction. So, that's what made me really adamant about not falling into that trap of just getting stuck and not moving forward. And, I'm really into it being driven to overcome things and to be good at things, and it makes me realize now and appreciate that, because I really wasn't prepared for a lot of things in life. Like, my parents didn't really teach me a lot. They didn't give me a lot of tips, definitely nothing around sex. There wasn't a lot of preparation there to prepare me for the world, especially being a Christian girl coming into adulthood. It was a very rude awakening because I was quite sheltered in a lot of ways, not real street smart, and I was not prepared, emotionally, or, and my parents, they just don't have connections, they don't have money, there just wasn't anything for me to really build upon. I had to kind of just create it all myself from scratch, and really from nothing, from not even really getting support or love, some basics. So, like, it created in me this, where I realized, I think at an early age, that I needed to raise myself, and that I just became this self-made woman, and created a lot out of nothing, and filled in all those holes that I felt were missing, and got educated to the hilt, and so I guess I'm just feeling gratefulness around the fact that if I hadn't had those situations and circumstances the way they were, I probably wouldn't have been as driven as I am. Because when you have all your needs met, there's no real need to go seeking or pushing or yearning, there's no impetus to get you to want to find out and figure it out and all that. So, I just know that things usually fall on some kind of circle. And if you're on one side of the circle, oftentimes there's a pro and there's a con to every situation. Where if you're here, then the opposite side of the circle is often what you're going to sacrifice. So you may have great parents, but then maybe what you sacrifice is that you're not very driven or motivated. I don't know. That's just an example of a possibility. Whereas, if you're on this side of the circle where your parents were not so great, then at least you get that drivenness, possibly. At least in my case, that was how my personality handled it. And I figured stuff out on my own, and I was intelligent enough to do so, and I'm so grateful for that, because I can figure things out, and I'm smart enough to put two and two together and, figure it all out, and it's kind of fun, and actually I make things my own that way, because I'm not being told how it is, or what to do, or how to do it. I kind of channel it, actually, on some level, a lot of things, and, so anyway, I'm glad that, it created in me, obviously, the characteristics that needed to be fostered in me, that I chose to come into this planet with these circumstances to develop these parts of myself, and I have done that to the hilt and so well, and I do it well, and so there's a positive side to all these shadows, and thank God for that, right?